Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, I'm John, this is Many a True Nerd, and welcome to Oriental Empires. And let me tell you, me and this game have already been on a flipping roller coaster together, which is, I'd never heard of this game till a few days ago, when the devs contacted me and basically said, hey, we've made Civilization meets Total War, and oh, my little face lit up. But then that was only for about, say, 20 odd seconds, say, because then I thought, hang the flip on here. You're trying to cross Civilization and Total War? Who exactly the bloody hell are you? Because those are two big, complex things made by experienced, massive teams, so who the heck are you that's trying to blend those two together? So I went and looked up the dev. I think this is their first game. This is, as far as I can tell, their first game. Like, you look on Steam, this is the only game against their name. I tried to find their website. They don't flipping have one. So as far as I can tell, this is a brand new dev team trying to merge together two massive and well-loved franchises, which is quite frankly flipping madness. So now, I've got my suspicious hat on, and yesterday, I load up this game, just to, make sure it runs correctly, and because it's a complex game, I wanted to play it for, just like, half an hour or something, just to get to grips with it, because it's not fun watching a big complex strategy game when I don't know what I'm doing. And then 2 hours passed of me playing this early access game, and it's good. Like, not great, it's not like as good as Civilization or as good as the best of Total War, not by a long shot, but it's good, and that in and of itself is kind of unbelievable. Screw it, let's just dive into this, I'll show you what I mean. So basically, we're in China. Unfortunately, I don't actually know that much about Chinese history. It's not really an area of history I know that much about. So, we're in kind of China, starting off in the Bronze Age. We're kind of playing over a civilization-y time period here. So we're supposed to be, like, playing over a really, really long period of time. Starting off stupidly early on, and then, like, loads of technology comes in over time. However, as you probably noticed, the faction screen bears more than a passing resemblance to what you might expect from a Total War game. Again, just these two things just sort of vaguely meshing together. 5 factions you can play at first, and then all the rest of them you can unlock just by basically, winning, or just by... Oh, just by playing loads and loads of turns, fine. So these guys will do, nice in the middle, lots of neighbours close by for us to be friends with, or potentially murder, depending, and they get authority +1. Authorities are basically how you build new cities. You need authority in order to keep expanding. So yeah, basically being able to expand faster seems like a good idea, and power development rate, that's basically one of the 4 technology trees. I'll explain that when we get to it. That's a perfectly fine starting point, that'll flipping do. So, welcome to Civilization, pretty much. You've probably noticed it's all on hexes and whatever. So, yeah, quite a bit of a similarity to good old Civilization. Particularly Civilization 5, I think, is the big inspiration here. Because unlike Civilization 6, it's not the big sprawling cities. All the buildings you build exist actually within the city, and the tiles around it pretty much are just for, like, land improvements, like farms or mines or clearage or whatever. So that certainly bears a few similarities to Civilization 5, as indeed does the basic units we've got started off here. So we've actually got over here, that is one lovely settler, so we can send a settler around there, together with, who are you, one bodyguard. Oh, we've got ourselves over there one of our general units, fine. But what I do like about this game, by the way, is it kind of solves the problem of scale. And this is, I know this sounds like a minor thing, but for me it's a really important thing, which is Total War's always had the problem that there was a massive disconnect between the cities and the campaign map and the battle maps. And you also had the issue that, like, walking around your campaign map was basically just one giant who just stomped across the land, but he was supposed to represent thousands of men and all of that. But no, basically, Oriental Empires gets around that problem by actually having everything exist on a single plane, which I really like. So, if we just zoom out here, sure, we've got ourselves, like, just a thing here saying, hey, you can see here that we've got ourselves a bodyguard who's protecting these settlers, and the settlers themselves, and over here we have got ourselves... Okay, so we've got 2 bodyguards over here, fine. We've actually got, we start off with 2 generals. Fine, lovely. But if we actually zoom in, we see them straight away. You can actually zoom right in and see all the details of all the people, including the bodyguard together with his guys. They're not on horses yet, because I don't think horse riding's been invented yet. We need to invent that later. And then we've got our settlers over here. And the same's true for the cities. You can actually zoom in and see your cities and, like, check on all the buildings you've just built, which I think is really, really cool. It makes the world all feel really, really nice and connected. And, like, if you've got something that's actually been improved to be farmland, you can literally zoom down and watch people, like, farming it. Like, if you want to check how you're doing in terms of whether an area is, like, farm or not, we know this area is not actually farm, it's fertile plain, because there's no people actually working it. But over here you can see this is farmland, because it's being worked, and you can go into the city, and you can actually, like, see my flipping settlers over there, and it all exists in one single universe. I know that doesn't sound like much, but for me that's such a nice thing. That's such a flipping nice thing, that the world is all actually connected, because it always bugged me in Civilization how, like, you know, you couldn't properly unit stack except under certain circumstances, and even then, like, you know, for the most part you just saw, like, you know, a few guys standing on a massive hex. But no, here, because everything's, like, you know, shrunk down and at scale, you can literally see what feels like a decent sized army actually on the same area, and you can stack loads of stuff. I think there's a stack limit of like 8 or 10 or something, so you can actually have like loads of units. You can literally like zoom in and see them standing next to your city. Okay, that's exciting to me. Anyway, let's get into some actual stuff here. We need to go and actually, like, you know, found a city or whatever. Because as far as I can tell, there's no actual penalty for basically just like spamming cities everywhere. So I guess that's a bit more like Civilization 6 than Civilization 5, where kind of generally it was deemed there was a certain like optimal number of cities you didn't really want to go beyond because of the penalties that started rising up. But I think for the most part in this game, you just want to kind of spam cities. So let's have a look around for some good resources. Over here we've got, wild game. That will be useful for the growth rate, because that just gives benefits to food for any city that's close by. We also have something down here. We have got ourselves mulberry. Increases by 30% value of silk. Okay, we're not producing silk yet. We haven't invented it, so we probably should invent that first before we rush down there. So probably the best thing we can do, I would say, would be create a bit of a high-growth settlement over in this sort of direction, close by to this here wild game. Basically, every settlement's territory starts off kind of 2 hexes out and can grow to 3 hexes out, but not beyond. So if I wanted to, I could actually settle, like, say, right over here if being next to the mountains had any advantage. I don't actually know if it does. And then 1, 2, and then grow out to a third. But actually, I could be here, 1, 2, grow out to a third, then I'd be adjacent to the wild game, and that would be fine. The game does actually tell that, though annoyingly it doesn't actually show you the range someone's allowed to walk, which you'd think would be an important thing to have, but never mind. Instead, we know bodyguards can move 4, and settlers can move 3. Fine, we'll probably want to keep them as a stack together just to keep these settlers safe, so let's just move them over in this direction. Apparently, the way to do that would be to go this sort of a way if we want to get over there. But if I wanted to go over here, this way, I could apparently get there much sooner. Okay, let's just start heading in this direction, so I can get there in 2 turns. You move between turns, by the way, not during your turn. Also, you can change your facing when you arrive, if that's what you want to do. I'm not really sure what that means. I think it just has, like, military applications. But, you know what, sure, let's face that way, for reasons. That'll flipping do. Although, actually, maybe that's not the general. I actually want to go in that direction. Because this general has a little bit of Ren, or Virtue. So that basically impacts the morale in battle, but also works like influence in the original Rome Total War. It just basically gets unrest down at settlements. So possibly, I'd prefer him to stay in Yin to manage the settlement. Because this guy over here is really good at the old fighting. He's got plenty of Ki, energy, and that just affects like attack power of units under his command. But he's not got much Ren, so he's not a good manager. So you, my good man, I would like you to head over instead in this direction. And you over here, just the settlers, yeah, you keep heading over in this direction. And you join up with them as soon as you can, please. You should catch up with them pretty quickly. In fact, actually, I think you can catch up with them next turn, because you'll end up... Yeah, beautiful. Just coincidentally, they will actually end up on the same hex there, so they can then group together into a single stack. Lovely. So, let's have a little look-see at our first actual city here. Our capital, kind of by definition, Yin. So, the population here is 10, and the population is growing. Now, this is another thing I really, really bloody like about this game, which is the single most important currency you have to manage is your population and what it's doing. So right now we've got a population of 10. You can see down at the bottom here, it's telling you what the population is actually getting on with. So right now, of my population of 10, all 10 of them are farming. Now, as a result of the fact that they're all working on farms, if we say go over to growth rate over here, they're basically producing food. Say, hang on, let's go over to the food thing. So yeah, production of food. 2 is from domestic, that's just kind of default. But yeah, 10 of it is coming from agriculture. 5 farms, 2 person on a farm, 10 food being produced, surplus of food, therefore 12 food to 10 people, so population growth is occurring. However, just like in Civilization or Total War, I actually want stuff to be like, you know, built inside this here settlement. So let's go over to city building, say, and we can use our starting treasure up here to actually build some stuff. So right now, you know, we've literally got no basic walls. So if barbarians show up, that probably would be bad. Can't upgrade to a city yet, need a population of 40 for that. So just like in Total War, I need to basically keep population growth occurring, because until I get up to city, I can't actually tech up, and we do need to be teching up over time. A palace, meanwhile, will let me actually recruit more stuff in terms of actual men. We'll get over to recruitment of guys in a second, but basically, it'll just increase the number number of people in the recruitment pool. Because yeah, recruitment's a little bit more like Medieval 2 Total War, actually, where there's a pool that depletes and then takes time to refill up again. Like I said, this is a confusing blend of stuff. Alternatively, we could get some bows into production, so we've actually got some nice ranged troops. That certainly would be nice, and that would also be cheap as well. We could also get a little bit of trade going on with a bazaar, but obviously we've got no one to trade with. That'd be a terrible idea. Or a granary stores food to feed population for 2 turns, so presumably for siege scenarios or what have you. But again, don't really need to worry about that yet. I would say a good palace to start us off strikes me as a very, very good idea, even if it's a little bit on the expensive side, because yeah, then we can actually start trading some troops a bit more quickly. That'll be useful. So, get that into production. That'll take 3 turns. However, you probably notice down here, 4 people have just been diverted away from farming in order to actually go and build that palace. So as a result of that, now, if we go over to here, agriculture has just fallen quite significantly. We've still got 5 farmland, but now there's only actually, yeah, 6 people working it, so agriculture's gone down to 8. Now we've only got 10 food coming in and 10 food being consumed, so as a result, the population is now static. So we're not growing in the slightest. And in addition, ultimately, we will almost certainly end up growing, you know, sooner or later. So as we get more people into the city, we're going to need more farms to actually work. So I think a farm can have a maximum of 2 people working it. So probably we're going to want some extra farmland going on. Also, I like the way the border growth works, by the way. If you want to actually grow your borders, you just need to literally work or convert into farmland or something that's just outside your borders, and then you get it, which is kind of fun. So go on then, let's just expand down this direction. This has got a pretty tree in it. So convert that into farmland, lovely. And that will be done in 2 turns. Luckily, I think the same 4 people are just basically doing generic building duties. So they're doing... yeah, they're doing that farmland as well as the palace. Let's just go back over to the construction queue here. Yeah, that's still marked as will be done in 3. So I think it's just generic 4 people have been put at the population to actually build some stuff. But yeah, as a result, this city's not growing. Let's go over to the recruitment, by the way. Basically, we've got those 3 different types of units. We've got the nobles, i.e. the palace, the peasant militia from, like, barracks or whatever, and civilians, just generic non-military units. So that there is, of course, a settler. This here is just some nice peasant light spearmen, nice and cheap to recruit. Actually, free to recruit. The limiting factor is, 1, they start coming with a recurring cost. So right now we're making a profit of 170 a turn. If we start recruiting troops, that'll start going down. We can literally only recruit 1 of these guys right now. That's what the palace is for. That will increase the stack from 1 to 2. And then also we've got ourselves some much better quality noble axemen, but obviously they're pretty bloody expensive. Probably wouldn't hurt to just have 1 peasant light spearman here, just to, you know, keep the peace and whatever. So we'll recruit that right now, and that can be recruited into the garrison. Lovely. And you can also, like, if you want to spawn them in varying gates, like north, south, east, and west. Admittedly, north and south gates is a bit confusing, because someone needs to tell the town administrator we don't have a north and a south gate, like, we're a hexagon, sir. It's all hexagons. There's no north and south gate, alright? There's an east and a west gate, and then it's northeast, southeast, southwest, northwest, alright? Still, we'll get him into there, and that'll all be lovely, and that'll impact our surplus, and we'll probably leave aside these guys, even though as you can see, like, yeah, attack 10 and defense 14, they are a lot better. But I'd say, because we've also got a general and his bodyguard, who I think have got, like, the equivalent of some noble axemen, we'll be okay for the time being. There's also, like, a little bit of just, like, noble unrest going on right now. Why are you bastards unsatisfied right now? Local factors, previous grievances. Oh, I'm sure you're all fine. It's not dangerous at 21%, and peasant unrest is pretty much neutral right now, too. Well, that's all fine, then. Come out of that screen, and probably just let everyone... Ah, wait, hang on, no. One more thing I need to actually do before we actually let this turn end, and that is the technology trees, because, hang on, let me just show you this, because this is going to bloody thoroughly convince you we're just playing Civilization 5 right now. You get a nice little thing of your guys sitting here, and all the different victories that exist. 4 victory conditions: Conquest, Son of Heaven, which is like... rightful emperor, because, like, I don't know how that's different from conquest, to be honest. You either conquer people and, like, assimilate them, or maybe Son of Heaven is, like, you can have them as vassals or something, and that's fine. And there's also a cultural victory and a points victory. No science victory, sadly. Now, over to technology. 4 different trees. Because I'm the faction we've picked, we get 20% bonus to the speed that we produce stuff in the power tree, but there's also the craft tree, the thought tree, and the knowledge tree. And of course, after you get to a certain stage, you can't get out of the early Bronze Age into the Warring States era until you've actually kind of done 27 items in total. So, what do we want to do in all of these? Because straight away we could just kind of say get, you know, farms up by 5%. That strikes me as potentially quite sensible as a thing to do early on. Or over here, this one's useful. Increased authority +1, i.e. the ability to produce loads of extra towns. Because right now we've got 1 authority, and we've got 1 town, so the nobles are happy. We're going to need 1 more authority before we put down our 2nd town, or the nobles are going to start getting a little bit annoyed at us. So, military drill, as well as, peasant long spearmen. Good new units, no doubt. You know what? No. Let's for the time being focus on increased farm food production. Getting growth early strikes me as a good idea. So that moves into there, and we'll do that one relatively quickly because we've got the bonus. Next, over to craft, obviously for trading stuff, but also for producing armour if that's what we want to do. But I tell you what, silk. We know we've got the stuff that increases the value of the silk nearby. Let's get that into production. Yeah, let's get some silk going on. Over in thought, for the most part, that just seems to increase various stats. So this one actually increases authority by 1 right here. Divination. Let's go for that because I need authority to go up to 2 pretty soon. That's probably a decent starting point. Plus it seems to go into a couple of different directions. And some archers over in knowledge. That strikes me as a good idea. Yeah. Recruitment of noble archers. Let's get that underway. Good composite bows. Beginning of a game of civilization never hurts to have a couple of units of archers when the barbarians come knocking. The game is giving me a little bit of a hint here. Apparently, this faction, there are enemies close by to the north, east, and the south. So stakeout claims to land quickly. Okay, fine. Right, let's get my troops moving. So end the turn and everyone will now do their little move. So they start going over there. So you can literally zoom in and watch them like, you know, walking through your farmland and by your city. It's very, very cool indeed. And I mean, I know it looks a little bit scruffy, but there's also a way this strikes me as really rather pretty. In some ways too, because kind of watching your troops just kind of, you know, follow the movement orders you've given them. And then you just kind of walk through here and then you kind of... Okay, you almost avoided the town there. And those guys head over there to go and found a new city by the mountains. And these guys actually have done a competent job finding a street they can run down. Let's see if they can keep doing that. What's going to happen to you guys when you get to the centre of the town? You're just going to... Yep, you just run inside this building a little bit scruffily. And these guys head on their way. Yeah, you can zoom, like, you know, right out and just kind of watch the flags moving or whatever, and it speeds up. And I can speed it up anytime I want to. If you want to, you can just kind of, you know, go down onto the ground and join them on their journey, which I do quite like. But no, let's just speed that up a little bit, and everyone else takes their turn. And a suggestion, recruit another settler unit in Yin, send it out to claim more land while it's still uncontested. Fair enough. And look for yellow encounter opportunities. Fine. And now it's... Is it like summer or something? It doesn't actually say. I assume maybe we're supposed to think it's... I don't know. It's dusky. It's dusky. Maybe it's like autumn. I don't bloody know. Still, at this point, over in Yin, Yin has indeed calmed down in terms of its unrest, because now there's a governor present. Lovely. Okay. Wait, I think I may have slightly misunderstood how the distribution of workers works. Sure, we've now got 4 people building rather than farming. That's possibly because you can't go under the minimum threshold of people required for population equilibrium, otherwise starvation kicks in. So it feels to me like the palace is being built slower than I was anticipating. Slower than 3 turns. Hang on, go into here as well. This is... That's 1 turn off. Okay, fine. Let's just let that finish, and then we'll see if the palace starts speeding up. So I suspect the palace is being built slower than I thought it was going to, because people have been divided between building the palace and doing this farmland as well. But let's just get that done while we're actually here. Meanwhile, over here we do actually have, yes, we've got in the garrison, we've now got ourselves the bodyguard, the general himself, and those peasant light spearmen. And I can't have another one of those until 7 flipping turns away, unfortunately. Though as for the civilians, we should probably get a settler in, like was recommended to us. However, we do have the slight problem that if we do that thing, that's going to actually, I believe, reduce the population here by 2, because people are going to be moving out. But... may as well. Also, Southgate. Let's actually just check whether Southgate is the southeast gate or the southwest gate. Because, yeah, we probably want those guys heading down here towards those mulberry trees that we saw earlier, because we've got silk in production. So let's get that done. So, boom, that happens immediately. They appear on that gate, fine, and yes, the population drops straight down to 8. So now, all of a sudden, there's only 4 people farming to only 4 building, but that's actually fine, because those 2 mouths in the settler now don't need feeding anymore, so it doesn't make any difference to the build rate. Okay, if I'm going to expand, I'm actually going to jump ship from the archers over to the calendar, because that'll get my authority up by 1. Then my authority will be 3 for my starting 3 cities. So we'll jump over there, and you don't lose progress. That's still been a little bit done there. So we're going to jump over to calendar. That's 8 turns away. Then the silk working 7 away, and the the divination for another authority is also 7 away. So probably we'll get a city down before any of that's done, but hopefully we'll be able to deal with it because we've got a general there to manage the noble unrest. So, probably the most sensible thing we can do here is you, my good man, should probably go and join up with... Yeah, you can move 4, and the settlers can only move 3, right? I think they've only got movement of 3. Yeah, movement of 3. So what you should probably do is go and join up with those lads so they've actually got themselves an escort. So they probably want to head down here towards this area and also start scouting out what's going on in this part of the world. So you go 1, 2, 3... and pick ourselves this guy, and move him 1, 2, 3 as well. But let's actually face him, so they end up facing the same direction. I don't know what that means. It kind of matters more in fights, because fights in this game do actually occur on the same map. You literally just zoom down, and you watch the fight happening. You don't fight the fight yourselves, instead you just choose tactics and facing. So for example, right now, these two guys are both set to be on basically form up a battle line and advance. You can change that as much as you want. There's loads of different options. So, like, you could just say, don't bother forming a battle line, just charge forward as fast as you can. Or, yeah, harass, but, like, don't actually directly engage, or outflank, or ambush, or just defend, form a defensive line, or support another unit, for example, or withdraw if anything bad happens to you, which could be a sensible thing to set my settlers to do, for example. I could provide them with cover with one unit while they back out, and the other unit kind of goes forward to buy time for them to get the hell out of there, which could be useful. For the time being, both of these guys just being on basic attack seems perfectly reasonable. Meanwhile, over these guys, the game's a bit fussy about where you can and can't lay down cities. By the way, you can only actually lay down cities on the exact spot the game says with this little symbol, which is restricted when you're close by to existing cities. But as you get further away, basically you can just put them down wherever the bloody hell you want. And it tells you if you were to lay a city down there, what would happen as a result. So this is in basic trade distance of yin, so yin and this city will be able to trade with each other, but it's not saying I'd be in range of that. Possibly we should just kind of keep exploring in this direction and see what goes on while these two head in this direction. Meanwhile, the city's still building, these guys just heading in that direction, so probably, now that we've done the first turn and explained a few things, we now start taking turns a lot more quickly. So, end the turn. They'll just say turn 2, which I find a bit sad. I prefer if it actually told you, like, what year we were supposed to be in historically, or whatever. Anyway, regardless, we've actually now got both of my settlers on the move, and they've both got escorts, just in case anything bad happens. And now it's raining, which is very sad. Now, tell me what's going on in this part of the world. Yeah, we probably just want you to just keep moving in this direction, to be honest. Keep exploring what's going on, and make sure we get that high growth stuff going on here. And you, keep going over here. So here might be a good spot. We could get over here. We could lay the city down immediately, because I think you can't lay it down after making a move. I think you've got to... Oh, no, of course you can't, because you don't move until between turns. So if we go over here, we lay the city down. The game specifically says this is actually in range to use the mulberry, which is lovely, and we're also within trading distance of yin. So this place and yin can trade with each other, even though I haven't got roads yet. Roads is a technology you can build. It's more like Civ 5 again, because, yeah, you can build roads, but I believe they're built on a tile-by-tile basis, rather than like, like in Civ 6 where traders just like create them by magic. Which I'm going to say I approve of, because in Civ 5 I really flipping enjoyed laying down roads. That was just really enjoyable. Meanwhile, over here back in Yin, now down to 8 people and still not flipping growing, we've now got 1 extra farm, and my borders have just expanded a little bit because I got that farmland over there, which is lovely. But now let's have a look. So yes, indeed, even though no one's actually building a new farm right now, 4 people are still farming, 4 are working. But that means they're now all working on this thing. Aha, and now this is only 2 turns away. Yeah, I think that's now being built faster as a result that all 4 people that are on building duty are focused on building the palace. Because I swear it was supposed to take 3 turns to build, but the first turn it still said 3 turns away, so I don't know. I've only played this game for a few hours. I think that's what's happening. But I like the fact that you need to manage people like that. And if you kind of dedicate too many people to building too many things simultaneously, then your population's not growing, and your population needs to grow, otherwise you screw yourself out of growth. It reminds me of the real true dynamic population system from Rome Total War, crossed with the production system from Civilization, and it actually works quite nicely, almost weirdly nicely in fact. Anyway, they're heading round there, they're heading round there, because we need to explore what's going on in this part of the world regardless. No sign of any barbarians yet, but don't worry, they'll definitely be showing up sooner or later. That's, I think, all we need to do this turn. We're just continuing to just move on our way. So everyone now just shuffles at double speed. Though I can slow them down if I want to kind of, you know, observe them as they march. It's nice that they all, you know, like, they march together. And you can literally still see Yin in the background over there. Admittedly, the problem is, obviously, we've scaled down China a bit. I think, like, the entirety of China is, like, I don't know, maybe 10 square miles or something. And I believe China is slightly larger than that. But screw it, it still is surprisingly pretty. Okay, now it's definitely winter, so that last turn was autumn, so the kind of reddish turn was therefore, presumably, summer. So next up, I guess we're expecting spring or something. We'll need to watch out whether they do actually decide to climb this mountain. Because if so, I question the command expertise of these lads around here. Because, yeah, they possibly could come up with an easier solution for this. Also, that's, no, that's just a fertile plain, though there are, interestingly, some rhinos. I know rhinos are like an important trade resource, but the game is not saying there's rhinos there. So maybe those are just like, you know, decorative rhinos who are just moving on. This isn't really where the rhinos live. Anyway, we can settle that city in spring, which will be absolutely flipping lovely. Just keep an eye on major announcements, but there's nothing major going on. Like Civilization 5 or 6, first few turns are pretty quiet. You're just getting your initial cities down. Still, no harm given I don't see any other new resources around here, just settling in this particular area. Because yeah, being close by to Yin means we'll be able to link it up to them by road easier when the time comes. And in addition, beyond that, of course, we'll be able to get reinforcements out to whatever this city is fairly quickly. So, we have got ourselves a group of settlers here. I'd say, guys, settle the settlement, or whatever the verb to create a settlement is. Settle! Boom! And we have indeed created Bow! Lovely. And we've also got a general who actually lives here as like part of a settlement. He presumably therefore is the face of Bow. Oh wait, no, sorry, you don't have a general here, in fact. We've just got some peasant light spearmen. Sorry, the general stayed back in Yin. Sorry, I forgot about that. So, the situation that we've got going on in Bow right now is indeed, we have got ourselves, yeah, kind of 2 food by default. You start off with 2 population, and 2 food are just generated out of domestic for fun. Because that just basically means your population is static for the time being. And everyone currently is unemployed. Other activities. I think if we actually go over to labour, it doesn't say that. Yeah, 2 people unemployed, because we're not asking them to build anything right now, and there's no farm for them to work. So, very bloody conveniently, what we're going to do is we're going to convert this square here to farmland. That's going to take them 2 turns to do, then they can start farming it, and it will also have brought the mulberry into our empire. Beautiful. And that's all we need Bow to do for the time being. Also, like all good games of this nature, I can also just rename all of these towns. So this town is indeed actually going to formally be the face of Bow. Lovely. Let's just check in on Yin as well, in particular its construction. Yes, indeed. Now, my workers are doing a good job building their palace. Everything is looking good to me. So the palace will be done in 1 turn. Then I'll probably let them get on with farming instead. Because if they get on with farming, then as a pleasing result of that, the population can actually start going up again. Because right now our population is static and we need it to start going up to eventually have a city. And you 3 are just going to continue along this route. Very, very nice indeed. If any of your technologies are researched, the game will tell you. So none of that's done yet. So in which case, you're building a farm and you're building a palace. Let's just check what goes on here. And also, hang on, slow it down. No, oh, no they are. Okay, the pathfinding isn't spectacular. Let's just follow these guys on their epic journey. This cart, yep. You know what? I think these guys have a destiny to take over the world, quite frankly. Because that's just bloody impressive. That this is how you decided to get around that mountain. That's just beautiful. Ah, marvellous. Ah, but I've just discovered something new here. Fish. We have got a very heavy fishy area. Any chance we can see the fish? We're going to see any fish? No, we can't see the fish, unfortunately. But the game is saying, if I were to control this area, that would be an increase in 4 to the food supply. So if I were to settle right here, I would get the advantage of wild game and fish. So guys, we're going a little bit further, though the game is weirdly saying I can't be there, I need to be here. But alright, fine, whatever. Then I'd gain the wild game and the fish. So yeah, I'd have the wild game immediately, and then the fish pretty soon. So I'd say, let's do that. Just 1 more move over here, then we're settling our city right over there, and then that city is going to be a ludicrously high growth sort of thing. Marvellous. Ah, and the palace at Yin is indeed complete. So, the situation at Yin has just changed quite dramatically, which is we have now got ourselves... Ah, perfect. The population has just grown from 8 to 9 in a single turn because everybody is now farming. And there are many, many farms to work. So as a result of that, the food has just skyrocketed. Because the population went down because we created the settler, but now everyone's back to working, and we've got even more farms. Right now, agriculture is up to 10.5, so we've got extra farmland. Because I think the most efficient way for farmland to work is for one person to be working one bit of farm, whereas if you've got like 2 people working one bit of farmland, it produces like a bit more, but it's not the most efficient way. You get diminishing returns if you put more people on a single bit of farmland. So as a result, the population here now is starting to fly up nice and quickly, and that eventually is going to have a nice impact on income. Because right now the income is coming from taxes, that's coming from people's contributions, so we need them to be productive farmers to produce anything at all. Now, the question is, do we actually want to get some more stuff in production? Because there's a brand new Grand Palace here, but no, unfortunately probably a bad idea, because even though that gives us cultural victory points, which would be very, very nice indeed if we wanted to go down that way, that's expensive, and also would take some time and keep our people busy. So let's not worry about that for the time being. But spending just 402 turns being able to produce some bowmen at our main capital probably wouldn't be the worst thing in the world, though actually... There's an upkeep for that, and it's 60. Yeah, that's really expensive. So what I'm going to do actually is, and this is a really nice touch, sometimes the most sensible thing you can do is not build anything, because then your workers can just get on with farming, but what we should probably do is... just give them a bit of expansion. Let's actually expand out towards the new territory over here, because then the 2 territories will be closer together, presumably. So get that done. Now as a result, okay, a couple of people are working that, and then they'll after that work on that. So now basically I've diverted 2 people into building farms, and the remaining 7 are still farming. But 7 people, when there's as many farms as we've got, is enough for the population to keep going up. So right now, those people are just going to start building some farms and everything's fine. And indeed, over in the face of Bow, momentarily, they will actually be having the mulberry inside this area. Lovely. But actually, speaking about the face of Bow, rather than just having the garrison here all the time, we don't really know what's going on in this part of the world. I'm just going to send you out, because you can move, yeah, you can move 4. I'm going to just send this guy out in this direction, just have a little look-see round. He can just start scouting about, and we can see what's going on in the world. And you can move 4 as well. Okay, I'm going to leave Yin unguarded, because I can train troops, like, instantaneously if I need to. Instead, I'd rather just figure out what's going on around the rest of the world here, just so I know what the right way to potentially expand into is. I can train new garrisons if need be down the line. And you guys are, yeah, you're going over there. That's absolutely fine. That will be a lovely spot for you guys to settle in. Right, I think that's everything we need there, because we don't actually want to train anything new. Anything else? Yes, we know about the palace at Yin. That has been completed. And, of course, now I can actually go down to Yin, and the palace is right there. The little kind of central building has now been upgraded to a palace, and you can, like, see it from miles away, because it's right there, because it's all one battle map, and I don't know why, but that's the coolest thing ever. But actually, even though there's a forest there, you can just about, from the top of the face of Bow, see the tip-top of the palace, and if we were to chop down these here trees, you'd have a better view of it. I like this game. How the bloody hell did a first-time dev team make this? Right, everyone just goes on their journey over to their new hexes. Lovely. And that's going to be a brand new city over there. And indeed, I assume this is the gentle light of spring. And we've discovered... irritatingly, we've just discovered wild game. So had we settled here, we could have had the benefit from that wild game. But no harm done. I guess we've just learnt the advantage of flipping scouting there. Now... we've got ourselves some rivers here, but rivers form logical, natural boundaries, so maybe don't worry about that. Instead, you can just head over in this direction, have a little look, see what you find down there. The face of Bow has now grown over to here, but yeah, this is the really interesting one. So, you plop your city down right here, please. Found a new settlement, and straight away we are in good shape. Okay, a river onto some steep hills, but can be farmed. Interesting. Though I'm guessing that strikes me as a good natural defense. This strikes me as a very nice defensible town right here. So, let's go over to Ao. I'm not keen on AO. Alright, no. This is not AO. This here is the settlement of... Wait, hold on. We already had New Johnton previously. This is New Johnton. There we are. So this is the settlement of New Johnton right here. And you may notice that even though there's only 2 people here, the population growth is already kind of growing at 20%. Also, weirdly, the population is... It says here the population is nothing but 11 peasants, but there's still 42% unrest from the nobles, who are dissatisfied because of insufficient authority, because right now my authority is... Hang on, just come out of this for a second here. Yeah, it says down there, right now I've got 0 culture points and 1 authority point, but I've got 3 cities down, so as a result I need some technologies to finish up in the not too distant future in order that I can get some new authority points, otherwise the nobles are going to start getting a little bit annoyed with me. But actually... Should you head home? No, we'll be getting some new authority points in sooner rather than later. You just keep heading on your way up here and exploring. Now, New Johnton, meanwhile, is in very, very good shape. Because New Johnton immediately... Hang on, go into New Johnton here. Yeah, New Johnton requires a... Oh, I think I need to build... Yeah, I need to build a key there. That's going to require... Ooh, that's expensive. Blimey, okay. You need flipping 800 and also flipping 80. Right. Unfortunately, that's the only way to bring that... that's... Okay, I've made a bit of a mistake there. What I should have done, therefore, is if I'd settled 1 space further towards the fish, I would have automatically got the fish. Then I could have just built a simple farm, and that would have been easier. But that's fine. In all fairness, we've already got the benefit from these things. We'll be able to build a quay sooner or later, and I kind of want to trade regardless. So building a quay there sooner or later would not be the worst thing in the world. In which case, New Johnton, I just need you to build a farm. Lovely. So, where would you like a farm to be? You know what? Screw it. Let's just expand up to the north. There we are. There's going to be a farm there. And probably worth us just basically getting 2 farms in production. So that's going to be 4 turns away. We'll have 2 farms in production. But even though everyone's working and no one's farming, the population is going to keep growing anyway because of these lovely, lovely wild animals. Meanwhile, 1 farm at the Face of Bow is also done. So now over here at the Face of Bow, yes, life is suddenly good. Because we've got 1 farm completed, which is now being worked. Presumably this farm down here just expanded into. So here we are. All my peasants are now working around here. And presumably, like, that's a mulberry tree. I don't really know what a mulberry tree looks like. Or maybe we're growing little kind of baby mulberry trees around here. So they're just working over there. And there's their town right there. Very, very nice indeed. Oh, it's lovely. It just looks lovely. Despite the fact it looks scruffy, it looks lovely regardless. But probably the most sensible thing we can also do here is also just to get like 1 more farm in production. Because we've got 2 people, so 2 farms is a good idea. So let's just get ourselves 1 extra farm in production over in 1, 2, and yeah, that's as far as you can expand. Let's actually get the borders touching. That's kind of cool. So now as a result, once again, both people are now working on here rather than actual farming, so the population growth has dropped down to 0, which is why stuff like wild game is really cool, because it means you can keep growing even while you're building, when you've kind of got a young town. Now, speaking of New Johnton, probably what we should also have is you, bodyguard. Do you want to head north? Because now you don't actually have to escort the settlers. You can move 1 square more. You can move 4 hexes per turn. So you head north and see what's going on up north and just have a little poke around, please. Meanwhile, over in my technology, yeah, we're 2 or 3 turns away from some stuff starting to come through, including, very importantly, the seedling transplantation, which will just get my farms a little bit more productive, which will help the growth rate. Good thing to invest in early, to my mind. So, let's see what anyone finds. Let's just kind of follow... Hello! We've come across something here. What exactly are you then? Are you by any chance also a general and a leader? Because if so, are we running into each other? Hopefully we're just going to run past each other. Right, we've come across the white deer. Apparently they're hostile. Oh dear. Are these like rebels or someone we're kind of naturally at war with? Let's just avoid these guys for the time being. Okay, we have got ourselves... Do we have trouble? No, okay, we're just going to run past each other. But my city's a little bit undefended right now, so maybe we want to train some troops in a hurry. Meanwhile, you're over here, just having a little wander around here, because yeah, everyone takes their moves simultaneously. And you're just heading out into the middle of nowhere to explore what's going on beyond the edge of the world. Look, guys, sooner or later you have to be able to see something, okay? Seriously. Unless it doesn't get revealed until the beginning of next turn. I think it doesn't get revealed until... There we go. Now it gets revealed. Right. So, we've got ourselves another faction. And that faction is 1 bodyguard, same as my bodyguard. Okay. So we now know that there is a thing called the White D. Let's just have a chat with them. Right, the White D. So, no formal relationship. They are stronger than us. They're wealthy. They're stable. We've been at peace 7 turns. Okay, right now they're polite. Let's have a little chat with them if we can. Hello there, the White D. Now is an appropriate time to converse. Marvellous. So, reveal capital location. By any chance, would you be willing to give us a bit of map information there? I assume these need to all be, like, in the middle or non-existent in order to represent that that's fair. Okay, what if I was willing to pay you a little bit of money? Not that much money, mind. If I was just willing to pay you... how about just, like, you know, as a gesture of goodwill? Oh, okay. Then we've got... okay, now that's apparently fair. Right, okay, so it's telling me whether something's fair. So, I'm willing to offer you just 14 gold for your capital location and other related map informations, okay? Propose that. Very well, we accept, okay? And I assume that's a fair deal. Now, we don't want to have a trade embargo or declaring war. Agreements, defensive alliance, fraternal harmony. Agree not to declare war on each other for 40 turns. Okay, let's not go nuts. We might want to go to war with these guys, I don't know. Right, that's pretty much all we can do with them for the time being. So hopefully they're happy with us for the time being. Back out here. Let's have a look, see what we've learned. Ah, okay. So now we know where their capital is. Ooh. They live in little round huts. Okay, I feel like our settlement is way more impressive than theirs, to be perfectly honest. Also, what have they got here? Anything? I don't think I can see the armies that are inside. And I'm guessing that's... I'm guessing that represents that they have a couple of cities around here. So they seem to be expanding in our direction. And I'm guessing we might run into trouble with them sooner or later. I'm kind of hoping there might be like a natural blockade around here that means they can't really get to us. Otherwise, this could be a little bit on the tricky side. Right, move over just in this direction. Just keep going over here and get a view as to what's going on. I'm really hoping this mountain range just continues around here. And hopefully that means Nunu Johnton is a little bit on the safe side. Right. I feel like we can broadly guess what's going on around here. City, city, open plains. You need to get back over here as quick as you can, please, into this here settlement. And just in case anything's about to go wrong, because I think right now this settlement's completely unguarded, isn't it? Hang on, go over to this. Garrison, yeah. There's literally no garrison and literally no walls. So I would say we probably want to risk getting ourselves, even though it's going to cost us some money, 1 unit of noble axemen in place, or... I'm guessing noble axemen are about as good as a bodyguard. So that might be a little bit on the OTT side. Let's just go for some light peasant spearmen just to hold the line. Okay, just hold the flipping line here. Recruit into the garrison. Right, and that's available immediately. Now, I could train a second one. Do I want 2 light peasant spearmen for 30? I mean, we don't know whether these guys mean us harm yet. Let's just keep an eye on them. 1 light peasant spearman, so there's literally a garrison. And also, our general is rushing back to be involved. Speaking of which, by the way, population is now 12. So yeah, I'm guessing the population is literally going up by about 11% each turn. So that would be approximately 1-ish. So that strikes me as a very, very good growth rate going on there. Now, is that true down... okay, the face of Bow still needs more farmland, or rather, we're finishing up the farmland. Meanwhile, over here, the growth rate's going up by 20%, but even at 20% growth rate, it's going to take you 2 or 3 turns for 1 person to exist, just because you're starting from the low base of 2. Fine, I see what's going on there. So you're going up here. What have you found down here, if anything? Nothing major yet, just plenty more river. Okay, in that case, you just head in this direction. There we are. There's no suitable path. Oh, just go down to here. Just go down over... actually, go to here. Just have a look-see around all of this. So you head over there, have a little look-see, see what you can find. We now know that's there. We haven't run into anything coming from this direction yet. And a new power has been encountered. Yes, we know, it's fine. Hopefully, they'll take one look at us and decide, oh, I see there's already some people that live here. I guess we shall back away and not cause trouble for them. Right, time to verify whether that's going to be the case. Now, where are you bastards going? While behind you, my lads vaguely try and catch up. So they're now running for home, so we now know there's some trouble going on here. Hopefully you guys are just doing what I'm doing, which is you're just on the explore, and you're planning to stay out of our territory. Especially as these bastards have psychic powers. They've got a little flag over here that's just carrying itself. Do we have one of those? Do we also have psychic powers? Hang on, need to check that. We need to get the camera around here. And yes, we've got a psychic flag too. Marvellous. Right, so they're just running around the side of our territory. We just need to get over here. And meanwhile, this guy over here is just heading over in this direction. I think we're heading into presumably a rainy autumn. I think this has been summer, right? This has been spring or summer. I think we might be heading into a rainy autumn right now. And you, meanwhile, are also heading over to here. Right, no sign of conflict yet. In fact, actually, they're vaguely moving away from us. That's fine. I'm happy to expand away from you. Oh, no, sorry, that was just a rainy autumn. Apparently now it's winter. And we've made some progress in power. So seedling transplantation has now been completed, which is beautiful. So take me back into that menu, please. And now our farming growth rate has gone up a little bit. But I can't go up to brick-faced wells to get another 5%, because for that I would need ceramic roof tiles first. Okay then, fine. So the round earth wall potentially doesn't interest me that much, but it leads into roads. And in addition, it's a prerequisite for mining. So I'd say probably let's get that in production. Meanwhile, silk is almost done, divination's almost done, calendar's only 2 turns away. So in a moment, our flipping authority is going to start jumping up, which will work as far as I'm concerned. Now, what have you found up here? You found, hello, what's this? Ah, copper. We found a copper deposit up north if we want to potentially do a little bit of expanding in that direction. We know where, Lingshu is there. And then we've got ourselves no units in garrison here. And no units in garrison there. And we've also got up here. Ah, well, this is a nice place. Is that, yeah, rhinos. So, useful trade resource there. Now, potentially we might want to expand a little bit on the north side. Can you expand into... I think you can expand through forest. It's just a little bit on the slow side. So why don't you just keep going in this direction. Have a little look, see what's going on. Until we see any trouble... I think we're okay for the time being. You, yeah, get back into the city as quick as you can. I want Yin defended. Now, face of bow, is that got... That doesn't have any defense at all right now. Just in case, I might want to bring my spearmen back home. Because I don't think I've got the ability to trade... No, I literally can't recruit there right now. There's nothing I can actually recruit at the face of bow. I'm actually not entirely 100% sure why Yin is allowed to train stuff already. Because Yin is a town and has a palace. But the palace doesn't let you train new units, it just increases the size of the recruitment pool. But the Face of Bow is also a town, yet doesn't have the ability to train anything. So I'm not quite sure why or how I'd get the Face of Bow to be able to train stuff. Possibly just because the population's too low. So I can't actually train because, yeah, the population would drop below 2, which is the minimum viable population. We'll need to keep an eye on that because over in New Johnton, yeah, we're still at 2 for the time being, but that should start going up pretty quickly. Especially as we have got ourselves, we've already got a farm there. We're actually training a new one right now. So if I were to, if I were to turn that off, then all of a sudden, 2 people are now farming. But that's still capped at 20%. At this point, it doesn't matter whether I'm farming or not. I'm already producing literally the maximum amount of food I can actually produce regardless, because 20% appears to be the growth cap. Okay, that makes sense. Well, in that case, can I take advantage of that in order to build something useful around here? Like, I'm not sure I want to necessarily trade in this area, but if I were to want to... Oh, this is very expensive. And that comes with one hell of a cost. That's really expensive to maintain. Ah, but the palisade has no upkeep. Once it's been built, it's just been built. Okay, that's of interest, potentially. But leave it for now, just because, yeah, it's a little bit on the expensive side. Return to Yin, meanwhile. Yin is now growing at, Yin is now growing at a decent rate of 13 at 10%. So basically, we should be gaining a new person every single turn at Yin. But the peasant unrest is starting to go up, presumably due to a little bit of overcrowding. Military service, labour force, local factors. Their happiness is born out of the food surplus. They're just a little bit unhappy because of generic local factors, which apparently represents feuds, difficult personalities, oppressive nobles or officials, etc. Vary over the course of the game. There's nothing you can do to directly affect them. Fine. So pretty much nothing we can do about peasant unrest right now. It seems to be broadly under control. Though the noble unrest is a problem because of insufficient authority, but that will drop by 20 soon, because we've got a whole bunch of new technology coming in. Like, we've now just kind of got one technology done. More's coming in over the next couple of turns. In fact, literally, we've got one authority coming in next turn. Right. You keep exploring. Keep on exploring. It's important we know what's going on in the world, and if we have any other neighbours, we need to know about them. You could go more that way, or you could... Actually not. For one turn, you... Just head over to 1, 2... Hang on, that's 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, head over there, have a little look-see at this plane. I want to know what the situation down here is. Then back away and go and find out what's going on in that copper mine. Ooh. Double rhino over here. Ah, but you already own one of those rhinos, so that is a nice chunk of income to you. Yeah, if you get something like that inside your territory, you just get like a big chunk of like 60 gold a turn for free, which is nice. So I've got fast-growing territories, but right now I'm pretty poor. So I might need to think about that. And Face of Bow I'm going to leave alone for the time being. I'm just going to basically let it get on with growing, because I need to let that place grow. Nunu Johnson is just trading farms. I can't afford to buy anything else. Yin, meanwhile, could grow a little bit faster if I just stopped building farms. But after this one farm is done, I'll probably say that's enough for Yin, and I'll just let it grow, because that will slowly get the income up. But really, I need to kind of expand, potentially, somewhere where I can actually make some flipping money. And sorry, I actually forgot to select the rammed earth wall. There we are, that's done now. Thank you, game, for warning me. Now, what way are you planning to go at this point? Now you know about me. Let's just kind of watch you speed up. Oh. Okay, skirting around the edge of our territory here. Not sure I'm keen on this. At flipping all. You are 1, 2, 3. Okay, he can actually make it to the Face of Bow this next turn. Okay, that concerns me. Probably, you need to start heading home, because I'm just a little concerned about that. You, meanwhile, my good man. Peasant Light Spearmen can stay here. Actually, they could just both go. You know what, no, leave a garrison. You, get down here. Alright, just get over there and be prepared to guard this area, because Face of Bow is still 2, so still can't train anything, unfortunately. Right, probably shouldn't have left it completely unguarded while we knew there were bloody dangers floating around. You've come over here, had a little look here. I think we broadly know what's going on in this part of the world at this point, so you can probably now head back in this direction. Quick as you like, go and figure out what's going on up here. We might want to expand in that direction. And indeed, we've got 2 technologies done immediately. Silk has been done. Well, that's just flipping magnificent, as has divination. So that's going to get the anger of the nobility down, because we should have now got authority up by 1 step. Yep, there we are. Authority now at 2. Lovely. So with divination done, we could now open up I Ching, getting culture up by 1, moving in a direction of more culture, and honestly, that's just culture-y. Right, are there any actual benefit? Increases the key of all new characters. So if I recruit a new general, then he'll get 1 extra key, so extra damage for his armies. It's not bad. Meanwhile, down here, Mandate of Heaven increases the virtue, or Ren, of all new characters by 1. That's nice as well. Or turtles. That's a good thing to research too. Well, if I go down this route, then I do actually gain the ability to get authority plus 2, which is nice. But authority's under control for the time being. Well, this way is, yeah, key for all new generals. I'd say let's go down this route, in fact. Culture, another authority, and then 2 cultures and a she, whatever one of those is. Wait, hang on. That doesn't feed in... Oh, you tricky, tricky tree. Okay, that's not how that feeds into that. That feeds into... Wait, how does... Oh, no. If I want... Okay, I need this one in order to get that, because this just goes down to there somewhere. Yeah, this one is required. Okay, that's a little bit unclear. It's a bit of a maze going on over here. Right, let's just get this one for culture plus 1 for shamanism. That strikes me as good. Yes, get that one in production. Now, as for craft, we've got some silk, but we can't improve our silk for, to the flipping Imperial era. Okay, so improved silk and textile printing's a long way off, so now we need to start something different here. Now, a copper mine will be nice, because ultimately we're kind of working our way in that direction, but can't do anything like that yet. Pottery workshop, yes. I think we need to start working on some trade here. We need to trade with our neighbours to get some money in, because we are poor right now. That way leads down towards, yeah, bronze making and stuff. So, foundry, clear forests. And that leads to more bronze weapons and tools. But a foundry might also produce some other good stuff, like just bronze we can just flipping trade. Because that symbol to me says, hey, this is a money-making thing, I would say. Whereas that looks more like a culture-y sort of thing. So I'd say let's get some bronze making in production so we can start trading silk and bronze. Right, lovely. And we should, if I'm reading this now correctly, have got ourselves a brand new building. Yes, we have got over here Silk Weaver. Ooh, Ooh. Right. You want me to spend pretty much my whole treasury and it's going to cost 100 a turn to set up. And that's going to produce silk for trade. But, ooh, okay. Right, that's a gamble, because I don't know how much the silk's going to be worth. I mean, historically, I feel like the answer is a fair bit. And the soil here is particularly suitable for mulberry. Resource will increase by 30% the value of silk. Produced at a settlement. So we need to actually have the silk weaver here in the face of bow. Okay, I see. So can we actually produce that now? Also, yeah, population here is only 2. If I was to get the silk weaver going on here, then it would take... Okay, let's just hold off that for now. This is a good settlement to produce silk soon, just not quite flipping yet. You're going over back in that direction. You are coming back over here. Everyone's kind of piling down to the face of bow right now because it can't produce its own units. You are hopefully not about to attack this town, or if you do, hopefully you can't just, like, you know, walk in and have it, because if you do, that would be really bloody rude of you. And if you do, we'll just take it straight back again, alright, because we've got more units converging on this area. In fact, if he does, I'm just going to go and potentially just take Ling's Shu, because that also appears to be a settlement that's got no units in its garrison right now, so we could just basically walk over to that and take it for ourselves. Oh! Hello, you're in my territory, my good man. But luckily you're just cutting through it. Okay. Right. So this guy's not decided to go over there. But this is still concerning. I don't like this guy one bloody little bit. No. No, I do not. But over here we haven't discovered anything new just yet. Understandably, we're just carrying on our way. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, I think you get the point, at least for now. But I think this deserves a little bit more of a look. Because, yeah, it's good. It's actually good. I mean, as I say, it's not great. It's not as good as Total War. It's not as good as Civ 5 or Civ 6. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that for a brand new young dev team, they've done a spectacularly good job actually creating a really interesting mix of the two that I've actually been having a lovely time playing. So, we will be continuing with this tomorrow. A little bit more of Oriental Empires. We'll just do a little midweek mini-series for this. So I hope you do indeed join us for that, ladies and gentlemen. But in the meantime, I've been John. This has been Many a True Nerd. And this has been Oriental Empires. Better than it has any bloody right to be. Thank you very much, and goodbye. You know, I really hope we've agreed open borders with Japan, by the way. Otherwise, they have basically just invaded. I may have picked the wrong fight over... Yep. And my cities, of course, have got even more flipping high-tech. They're mysteriously still completely dependent on, you know, an aqueduct. Now, I'm not saying your entire army is mostly already dead, but it kind of actually is.